Stardate 96647.49. My name is Mike Moody. With me is
Grant Davis
and
Clyde Haynes.
You're listening to Star Trek Discovery Pod Season 2.
We're back, baby.
Hey.
We are back. We are a Star Trek Discovery podcast. There's three of us tonight, and we kind of want to give you a little refresher on who we are before we start talking about this pretty exciting Season 2 premiere, which was called Brother, which we'll dive into really quickly. We also have some new reviews of the podcast we'll get to at the end, some listener feedback. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know you can visit us at StarTrekPod.com. We covered the entire first season of Star Trek Discovery last year, and it was in the year before, right? It spanned 2 years.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
2 calendar years.
2 calendar years. So visit us at StarTrekPod.com if you haven't listened to our Season 1 podcast. And we did some fun stuff over the break. We did about 4 episodes about all the short treks, and we also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/StarTrekPod. If you join us there, you'll get some extra bonus content. And you can also join us on our private Slack channel if you donate $2 an episode. But all right, housekeeping out of the way. Let's rewind a little bit and remind everybody who we are. So, Grant.
Okay. Yeah. I would say I'm the red shirt of the group. Also known now as of this episode as the blue shirt. I'm not sure what's going on. You guys going to bring me up to date on that?
He did have a blue shirt, didn't he?
But yeah, I'm the noob. I'm completely indoctrinated into the Star Trek verse. This show, Star Trek Discovery, is my first foray into Starfleet Command and all that. I've seen the movies, but I've never watched any of the other shows.
The new movies.
The new movies. I saw Wrath of Khan too, and I saw a little bit of the one with the whales.
All right.
Return Home or The Way Home, or I don't
The
remember
fact
what it
that
was.
you watch them out of order just bothers me just so much.
There was one with Eric Bana too that maybe, I don't remember if that was like first contact. I don't remember. Sorry. Yeah, obviously I don't. And that's a little bit of background into me. So I'll be asking dumb prodding questions that allow you guys to show your expertise.
Clyde, tell me about your lifelong obsession with Star Trek.
So when we started this podcast, I thought, this is gonna be fun. I'll be the cool Trekkie. That'll be me. And I came to the table and realized, no, I'm probably the biggest Trek nerd at the table. So I love what Starfleet is. And so if you remember the end of season 1 where they all stood up and said, I am Starfleet, that's me, basically. So I've seen pretty much all of the series, maybe not entirely. I've not seen all of the original series. I've seen all the movies. I've read a few books. I've done a bunch of stuff. So I'm a kind of a hardcore Trek nerd.
Man, once you said reading the books, I'm like, that's boldly going.
You don't read
where no other dorks go.
You don't read books, Grant?
I'm illiterate. So
right. Yeah.
You know this about me. Don't
I
call me
do
out.
know this, yeah. My Star Trek fandom is similar to yours, Clyde. I've been a fan since I was a kid, and my favorite series is Deep Space Nine, but I'm also really looking forward to that Picard series because I love The Next Generation. Huge fan of most of the movies. Really liked the J.J. Abrams movies. I know a lot of us fans that roll deep don't really – a lot of us don't like harbor a lot of love for some of those movies, but I like it all except Enterprise.
You know, I've got a friend who's constantly trying to convince me that Enterprise is not only worth the watch, but is actually really, really good. And so they gave me...
Is this friend a child?
No. This actually is friend's a doctor. Like, you'd think he's a smart guy most
Like a
of the
Dr.
time.
Phil doctor?
No, like a actual medical doctor. Like, in most cases, I'm like, I've got a friend who's kind of a genius. But when it comes to this, he says, hey, I'll give you 5 episodes. You go watch them, and then you tell me what you think. I got through 4 of them and called him an idiot. So
You need that 5th one.
Yeah.
no.
What if that 5th one is Walkabout where John Locke stands up and you're like, holy shit, he used to be in a wheelchair.
Man, I saw that coming in
I love
the first
Lost.
20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not here to talk about Enterprise, even though I brought it up. Let's talk about Season 2, Episode 1 of Star Trek Discovery, Brother. Let's do some quick hot takes, and then we'll dive into the episode a little deeper. All right. We just watched this episode a few minutes ago. We just finished watching it, and so these are fresh hot takes.
Captain.
And yes.
Kick us off. What'd you think?
I
Wait, you don't want me first?
I do, but I think you guys are more hyped about this and excited about it than I was. I liked it. I really liked it, but I understand the episode had a lot of work to do at the beginning to orient us, to set up a new threat, a new mystery, to set up new emotional relationships, to set up new characters. We got a brand new captain now that Lorca was eviscerated last season, or was he? And it was a lot to take in. This episode was doing so much. It had so much work to do that it kind of felt like the gears were grinding a little bit. It felt kind of like, I don't know. It was just kind of overstuffed for me. However, it was extremely propulsive, right? It was super fast paced, and I found myself getting really tense and suspenseful, like watching it, because there was like 6 damn giant blockbuster Hollywood set pieces.
Yes, there was.
In this hour-plus episode. How long
So
was
proud
it?
of CBS just like pouring money into this. I'm like, it looked great.
It looked amazing. And you know, I don't have the biggest TV. It's like 55 inches or something, but I was like, I wish we could like rent out the Alamo Drafthouse and project this in the theater, because this is such a cinematic show, and it just keeps moving more towards that cinematic direction, just the way it looks. It's so amazing. There's so many flashy things. It was like the creators of the show saw Into the Spider-Verse and like, yeah, this is boring. We need to up this a little more with our show. You know, it's like we need to make this a little more kaleidoscopic. It was great. Again, I think my biggest complaint was that I wasn't fully invested emotionally in what was going on. However, I could stand back and enjoy I was just in awe of the spectacle of it all. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the show goes this season. And I like Pike.
Right?
Ensign
Mount?
Ensign Mount was,
Yeah.
This is the best I've ever seen Ensign Mount.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to go next with a hot take?
I'll jump in. Like
Yeah.
I agree with you. I immediately thought this is like watching a quick 1 hour movie. And I love that. And so I think it was beautiful. It was fast paced. You know, I don't have the premium CBS all access package. So every time a commercial popped up, I was kind of annoyed because I wanted it to just be more of what we were already seeing.
Just
so
uninterrupted joy.
yeah, I mean, I loved it, and it's very different. We're not dealing with the, you know, everybody hates Burnham. How is she going to get their trust and be the star of the series? It was more focused on we've kind of graduated from that. Now we've got this crew who's bringing on a new captain, but the centerpiece of what we're watching is the exploration of this mystery, right? And so that I thought took it from kind of looking internal to looking external, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed kind of the pieces and the action and just getting to see all the stuff. I mean, they did a really good job.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So and you're right, Mike.
Plenty of stuff.
It was like it was overstuffed, but only like a calzone. So if you don't like calzones, then this probably not for
Then
you. But
get off our bridge.
But for me, I thought it was great.
Discovery is the Pizzone of Star Trek. Clyde Haynes.
Don't quote me on that.
It's a sexy hot pocket right here. Man, I'm in love with this. I thought
I can
everything was hitting on this, and I was just overjoyed from the very beginning. It was great to be back with this crew, and I was really taken by the kind of shift in tone. I think that when we were first introduced to this show, it started off really heavy, really dark, and kind of sinister. And you guys were talking about how tonally the first season, or at least the first few episodes of the first season, were a little bit jarring to you guys, because it's like the Star Trek I know is optimistic. It's not so negative. Doesn't have betrayal and a lot of death and just kind of everyone looking over their shoulder like that. And now we have, not only do we have a team that they specifically introduce a lot of the people from,
Right.
but they
Roll call.
start fleshing out the characters, and all of them get to shine with a little bit of personality. You have a really optimistic note of exploration and everyone looking out for each other. Like they hit on all of these notes that I heard you guys were lamenting in the first season, and I thought they did it so beautifully here that I was just like, I was overjoyed by that, as well as, like you said, all the big blockbuster action sequences, the flying through space in those little pod thingies, whatever they are,
awesome,
spinning around, and then how intense it was when Burnham jumps out of the ship to save Pike, and they blast off and stop just inches before the spikes. I'm like, you know what? I loved it. I loved every part of that.
Her running. When she was trying to escape the exploding asteroid.
I know.
That was amazing.
I was like, jump over that red beam, but she didn't do it. I wanted to jump.
When she's running through the Tig Notaro tube.
Yes.
And Tig Notaro.
Yay, Tig Notaro.
She's fantastic. Like, what another great sassy engineer / medical. Like, she's just got it all.
Does she remind you of Bones?
A little.
Right?
She's got that Bones like tone to it. The quick witted. And I was sitting there thinking, all right, so is this the medical officer that's gonna replace Culber, or is this the engineering officer that's supposed to replace Stamets? Who I was like, there's no way Stamets is leaving. I'll protest.
Yeah. Well, he's the is he the engineer?
Mm-hmm. Is he? No, he's a. Well, it's kind of a hybrid.
Because he's not fixing the ship. He's
not nipple juicing anymore.
No, but look, that's the Discovery's whole thing.
Yeah.
That's coming back.
Yeah, it is coming back.
Yeah, I feel like ship went through some damage. They might need someone with magical robot making abilities.
Like somebody who can build cyborgs in her spare time.
Like, what was this?
Right.
Like, I casually made Evie from Wall-E. No biggie, whatever.
Oh, don't worry about it. I made Data during my nap here.
Oh, this is 100 years before that's supposed to happen?
Oh,
whoops.
We'll just keep it secret like everything else on Discovery. Okay, let's kind of pick through the episode linearly and have fun with it. Like, let's talk about that opening scene.
Okay. So that does kind of kick off with the whole flashback, right? It's got the Cassini, the NASA like star date with the Cassini like a little black and white video.
Right.
And then you have what's her name, Burnham, kind of doing her beat poetry slam kind of thing of like, we are the Voyagers of the Starship Enterprise. Boom, 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 boom. I wanted a little like jazz ensemble going in the background while she's saying it. It was so smooth and kind of sexy.
What'd you guys think about that backstory with her meeting Spock as a child? Because that's kind of that's how everything kicks off, right? That's supposed to be, I guess, since that's the first big scene that we see. Well, really the first big scene we see is her being introduced to the household, meeting Spock's mom.
But it was obviously building up to their relationship. The episode's called Brother.
Yeah. So, and that's going to be a big theme, her unification with Spike. With Spike. With Spock.
Wrong show, Buffy.
Dude, I am so tired, and I love Buffy.
Look, I think you're dead on in terms of thinking that this is going to be a big theme throughout the season. I thought it was a little heavy-handed. Like, I got it. Yes, we saw a lot of scenes, the fact that they don't quite get along. I thought we could have got there a little bit quicker. But I guess it was purposeful because we see in the beginning the steps that he did will come back in kind of the last few scenes. Where she kind of repeated those steps in his Enterprise cabin.
You found the mystical multicolored light worm dragon hologram heavy-handed?
Just a little bit.
It reminded me of the Patton Oswalt bit where he's like, "Hey guys, do you like Darth Vader? Wouldn't you love to see him as a kid?"
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "No, I just like my Darth Vader. I don't need to see his childhood. Don't ruin it for me."
I don't really mind seeing my characters as kids as long as they do something cool with them. Like in the 2009 Star Trek movie, I appreciated the intro to little boy Spike, who's a kind of a brawler at school.
Why do you keep saying Spike?
Did I say Spike
You
again?
did.
I feel like
I
are you
got
gonna do this entire season?
3 hours of sleep last night. Spike
man.
is my favorite character in Star Trek, guys. Man, they're gonna,
Like when Commander
internet's
Pike
gonna
and Spock had a baby, it was Spike.
it is
I guess.
Spike. Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Portmanteauing it.
It's gonna be Pock and Spike,
You guys,
or Poke and Spike.
you guys talk.
Well, I love Spurk as well. I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, he's a little asshole kid. But I get it. They wanted to just quickly do some quick shorthand of like they didn't get along already from an early age, and it kind of leads me to believe why would we never have heard of Burnham in any of the rest of the series? Maybe this leads or kind of points in that direction of they never really got along.
Yeah,
She burned him in some way.
I
Hence
understand.
her last name.
I understand this is no. I understand this is the beginning of a story between her and Spock that's going to go deep as the series goes on or this season goes on. But this little piece of it that we saw in this episode with young Burnham being introduced to the household, meeting Spock, and it very quickly just going off the rails and him shutting the door on her and them not having a connection, him not wanting a connection. That to me was not a story, right? It was just a scene, and then it's just dropping hints to a story that might come.
It seemed lazy in a way. They just turned to the audience and been like, they didn't get along as kids.
Yeah.
Next scene.
Yeah. It didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel complete. It was just kind of there, and it was very tropish.
Yeah, I agree with Grant in the fact that, when we look back at the history of Star Trek, right, and Spock is one of the most beloved characters. There are a lot of, I guess you'd call them Star Trek historians that would tell you that they know most things about Spock, right? They know about his relationship with his father. They know about his history. And so we've got all of this backstory on Spock that says we've never heard of a sister. Right. And so now they've introduced this sister who, oddly enough, has an incredible relationship with his parents. She's close to his mother. Sarek is a mentor to her, yet we've never heard anything about her. And so now they've said, okay, so the fact that these two are estranged is the reason why we have it. So it makes some sense. It seemed like I'm also with you, Mike. I didn't care.
Yes.
I just didn't care.
Grant, earlier you talked about, and I'm going to jump around a little bit. Sorry.
Sure.
Earlier you talked about you're really excited about the scene where they're in those pods and Pike's ejector seat goes haywire and she has to jump out and save him. And that was pretty exciting, and it was. But did you care about what was happening, or was it just, the art direction in this is great, the choreography, the action, the way it looks, and the way it's conceived is great?
I did care because I thought it really tied nicely back to our introduction of Pike, which I figured we were going to get to anyway, but how he's kind of rudely dismissive of people interjecting and trying to voice concerns when he was like, we're going to go over there and rescue people. Mm-hmm. And Burnham has to dress him down and be like, look, motherfucker, don't try and come at us like we don't give a shit about other people in Starfleet. Mm-hmm. We sacrificed everything to save other people in Starfleet, and I think we've earned your fucking respect. And I love that he has to be checked on that.
Yeah.
And then she doubles down on that, and when he's in trouble, she saves him. I mean, was there any risk for us of knowing that he was going to die? No, obviously we know that he continues on in later series. Yeah. But I love the fact that it reaffirms what she said there. So that's why I was invested.
I get it. Everything you're saying makes sense. But you're talking about structure. This thing was structurally very sound. Uh-huh. That makes sense. This was like screenwriting 101. Things paid off. Things were set up and paid off. Dominoes were knocked down. That was great. But I felt a lot of it was just cold. I don't know. Maybe my heart wasn't in it, or
No, I'm
You're just tired.
No,
I'm just tired.
I'm with you on this, Mike. Like, here's the thing: we're talking about the first few scenes, right?
Yeah, let's go back to that.
Like early on, the rest of it, I'm invested, right? I'm trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with Tilly, right? Like, she just falls over herself when she talks to Pike.
Oh yeah.
But
She's sweating him, man. he's a sexy dude.
I guess so. But there are these moments, and I'm looking at Stamets and wondering if he's, like, he can't leave, Stamets, and we're getting reintroduced and seeing kind of these smaller part characters have bigger roles. This is the biggest role that Kayla, what's her last name? Dimmitz? Who even knew that she had a last name? Right? So
Did she get a new eye?
it looks that way
Right?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't notice that before. But so we're seeing all these different things. The beginning of the episode, I just did not care about young Spock. I was more interested in looking at his room and thinking, what would Spock's room look like? And thinking he's the OM, the original minimalist.
The OM.
The OM.
I mean, sure, it was like we said, it was heavy-handed how he the interaction between them. They could have probably handled that in a little bit more of a subtle way, and we would have appreciated that scene a little bit more. But I do think that there was a little bit of payoff with showing that he's, as a little kid, a way that he would express dealing with his human side and his fears would be to try and draw out what he was afraid of and confront it in that way.
Yeah.
And that pays off at the end with Burnham understanding that background history of him and going to his machine and knowing that she can pull out the visual drawings that he made, and it was a map to whatever is going on that he's afraid of. Now, I didn't understand what she was seeing in the stars unless it was saying that the red blinking light was directly tied to something that he's afraid of, and he disappeared with whatever stars. That would be my guess.
I want to say the red blinking light coordinated to where this rogue signal had been popping up.
Or the 7 rogue signals.
Right, yeah.
It's clear he knows something that no one else
It
knows.
was like a map.
Yeah, and it all comes from his dreams, which is kind of weird and spooky, but cool.
Is this like a common thing for Spock that he has? Is he like psychic or something? No?
Well,
Not really.
Okay.
Well, if you think about it, though, there is a certain, I think, telepathy that Vulcans have.
They're empathic.
Yeah, and it's a bit dormant, but yeah. So,
But yeah, like Sarek's like popping into Burnham's mind all through the first season.
yeah,
Right. I mean, it usually stems from physical interaction, a mind meld, a physical mind meld. Spock has mind melded with really odd things before, like machines and, so who knows? Maybe he melded with whatever was at the source of these rogue signals that are apparently breaking up starships and causing all kinds of crazy stuff in the universe, which is our new threat. So,
Well, yeah, let's jump aboard the ship, right?
yeah, when we get back to Discovery, moments after we left them in season 1, Enterprise shows up and shit goes haywire.
yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that I don't know. It seemed a little bit funny that like they would show up and they would have emergency signals, but they wouldn't directly like talk to them about what's going on, all as
Yeah.
just some big convoluted way for Pike to pop up on the ship so he can tell him in person. I was like, oh really, dude? Everyone was freaking out because of your ship.
Out of respect.
Yeah, I was like, that's not respectful. It's kind of a dick move. But I guess it was kind of fitting with you kind of being dickish to them in a couple of ways.
Well, I mean, his science officer Connolly was the biggest prick. I mean,
it was much worse.
Oh, that guy was marked for death. Yeah.
well, what's interesting about that was I immediately was like, oh man, I can't wait for that guy to die. And when they're in the pods and they're racing through, you're like, oh man, the person who keeps going, no, I got it, no, I got it, no, I got it. Yeah, you're gonna die. But I immediately saw when they gathered, I saw I don't have a name for her, but the red shirt.
The red shirt, yeah.
With the braces, and I was like, oh,
Braces.
Braces is dead. Like,
Right?
Braces is dead.
They threw you off.
I was like, oh, nice red shirt. Yeah, you're done.
What was the name of the blue shirt guy? Did we catch his name?
Connolly.
Connolly. Yeah, I think he tweeted about how he didn't like that Gillette commercial earlier.
They're like, you're gone.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he just didn't fit. Like he was talking so much noise and like, it's this. He just didn't fit. And I think what we're getting is a cohesive team. Like it really feels like this is going to be a team, and that is more Star Trek that we're used to.
Yes.
We're used to the people who are sitting at the con and the helm doing things that actually save the day, right? Where everybody has a purpose. And I think through season 1, those guys basically just did nothing. Like they were extras on the
there
bridge.
There was too much going on. We couldn't really deal with them. But now, I mean, there's a glimmer of hope, right? We all got introduced to them by name, so at least fans can refer to Wikipedia now. Right?
Well, despite Pike's entrance being a little odd, since he just beams on the ship and doesn't really explain what's going on beforehand, I thought he did a good job of like you said, bringing the crew together, right? Making things a little more cohesive as they went on, finding his place there and still being respectful. Plus, he's a really fun character. What did you guys think about Pike?
I mean, I like him. I like him as a captain. When I think of, all right, we're going to have a captain for a season, under no circumstances did I want it to be Saru.
Yeah.
Right? I just did. I mean, I like him.
I kind of want Saru.
Every episode, guys, let's get out of here.
I'm nervous. Let's go.
Yeah. But I like him, and I think he's going to be good for the growth of the show, and I think good for the story. I mean, he's basically a reincarnation of Kirk.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He's got the swagger. I thought it was funny how one of our first introductions, and I was already talking about it before, is the pretty important scene where he's like, we need to go rescue those people. And Saru, followed by Burnham, both like try to be like, hey, here's some things that we need to voice that you should be concerned about. We have to consider this, and we should all at least acknowledge that these are risks. Mm-hmm. And when he snaps at them, he's like, I don't want to hear you saying this stuff. Doesn't that completely contradict what he says to Burnham in Lorca's office, or his office, when he's like, we need chairs in here because I always want people to be able to sit down and voice their concerns. I was like, bullshit, dude. You just like tried to silence everyone earlier. You were being a bit of a rascal there.
I want to say that initial conflict where he snaps at them comes from the character feeling like dealing with his emotions of being left out of the war. Right?
That's an interesting issue that they kind of introduce.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Burnham was just, and she didn't say this exactly, but she was kind of like, look, I knew you were sitting on the sidelines, but we've been in this thing right in the middle. Yeah. So don't look at us like we're scared to go get some people, because that's not how we roll. We've been to the Mirrorverse. Where were you?
Although I wanted him to be like, to be fair, it seems like you guys like skipped about like 7 months of the war. You guys just kind of jumped ahead in time and didn't have to deal with that. Heavy shit.
And technically, you started the shit. So
you started it. Let's rub that right in your face again. They could have gone so much back and forth.
That would have been fun to watch.
But it is nice to see that Burnham is now a really like respected,
integral part of the crew.
Like she, like her word is like when she says something science-y, everyone's like, oh shit, we should listen to what she's saying. She's dropping some science bombs.
Oh man, I really respected the way the crew came together in all these situations. I mean, there was like 8 tense like situations on the bridge where the bridge kind of had to act as this awesome hive mind, you know, and they were just all speaking the same language, almost finishing each other's sentences. I got really hyped with that stuff. And that started at the beginning, and every time there was a new conflict that arose, they just worked together so cohesively. It was pretty damn cool.
And Tilly is the heart of the ship still. It's nice to see that continuing on from last season, like how she interacts with Stamets. And Stamets had this really beautiful scene of him interacting with Culber through like memory things. Yeah. So it was nice to see
Black Mirror memory implant device.
Yeah, right. It was nice to see that actor Wilson Cruz back on the show as well. And I was like, oh, what? Of course you're not leaving. but what's it gonna be? What's it gonna take to make you stay on the ships? Damn it!
Yeah.
And I like to see how Tilly was trying to, in her nerdy way, express like you're still important to us, and I don't want you to go.
Right.
And there's been that softening of Stamets from when we were initially introduced to him, but he's like, I really want you to repeat after me. And whatever he said was just basically like,
Don't talk as much.
Yeah, use fewer words.
Shut up.
Say fewer things.
I'll tell you what, though. I love the tech. Like, I just couldn't get over every scene. There was some piece of tech that I was just like, this is the Star Trek that we all love, where we get to see the cool stuff that we wish we had right now. And so when they brought out that like gravity simulator, I was just like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, it was just kind of cool, even though, bringing an asteroid into the hangar bay is going to, crush the ship.
That looked amazing.
That was pretty cool. I liked how it excited Stamets and got him back into the groove a little bit.
Right. It pulls him back in because he's still a nerd at heart and he can't let go of it.
Right.
I thought that. Sorry, now I forgot what I was going to say. I thought that it was interesting hearing how both the Enterprise crew and the Discovery crew kind of envied each other's ships. Like, because from my perspective, the Enterprise is this old 70s hunk of junk that
Right.
was held together with spit and glue, right? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with that thing. But I guess at this point in time, it's like one of the new best ships. But isn't the Discovery some ultra secret, more amazing ship than the Enterprise? Isn't that supposed to be what's going on there?
With a super spinny spore drive, right? Like,
Right.
just
Well,
flips
wasn't
it
it-
around and stuff.
It's a magic ship.
Wasn't it the red shirt that was like, oh, this is where all of Starfleet's money goes to?
Yeah, which is another reason why I thought she was destined to be killed off very soon. But
Shut up about our budgeting.
Yeah. There's no currency in the future. The currency is knowledge, damn it.
but she was so quiet that I was like, all right, maybe she might make it, and it turns out she did.
It's good bait and switch.
Yeah. Definitely a good bait and switch. Okay, what happens after the first conflict with Pike? Is that where we meet up with Tig?
Sorry, I scrolled down. Here, let me get it.
I mean, as soon as they, we go through the cool little roller balls through space, we meet up with Tig, and then it's like, how the hell we get off this ship? What took you guys so long?
I am excited about her character, especially since we have, I don't want to say neutered, but maybe like you guys were saying, a softened Stamets. It seems like she might take that role kind of the cranky firebrand who has a big heart. And plus it's Tig. I was a huge fan of her. I'm a huge fan of her comedy. I loved One Mississippi, both seasons. And earlier today, she tweeted that she is all over this season. Like, she's in every episode. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, I thought she was just going to be in a few episodes. But
I was curious, if her or Pike are going to kind of stick around for a bit. Or...
I think so. At least, I mean, they might do something like last year where they cut it in half and they have different, another plot going on in the second half of the season. But at least I think they'll be around the first half.
So I'll say this. I did really love this episode, but it wasn't exactly like it was surprising, right? There were some notes there that seemed very Star Trek to me. And I think I appreciate that. As much as, the first season was like nothing like we'd ever seen, you get the charismatic, shiny new captain. I knew he wasn't going anywhere. Like, it was like, oh, I'm turning it back over to you. And I was thinking, no, you're not. And
really? I kind of thought, oh, maybe he's just in here for one episode, like one spot.
I was like, there's no chance. And then when they got down there and they're like, oh, I think we see a reading, I was thinking, oh, I literally wrote down introduction of a new character. And I was thinking, I wonder if this is going to replace Colbert. And I was like, this is how Star Trek does it.
Yeah.
They find somebody stranded on a planet somewhere who has nothing else to do and who's turns out to be like the most extremely qualified. They're the most talented person in the universe. And it's like, oh, well, we're going this way. Do you want to become a chief whatever officer on board? Sure, I'll become the chief whatever officer, and we're doing this.
You might
just like what's his name from last season.
Yeah, you might be a secret Klingon, but hey, You're the new security officer.
We've learned nothing
Exactly.
from last season.
It is literally Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Do you guys
Star
think
Trek.
Tig is a secret Klingon?
No, not this year.
Tig, even if you're a secret Klingon, as long as we can have a little bit of a romantic relationship,
Sure.
come on board.
Yeah,
Get over
let's
here.
do it. It's fine.
What would make sense though if Tig is a secret Red Angel thing, right? Like that would be the same thing. But I'm sure the writers didn't just go, "Hey, let's reuse last season's script
Right.
and just change some names and places."
So if we can jump back just a little bit, when Pike gets in the chair and they're about to warp speed over to this rock, he gets in there and he sits in his chair.
Spore jump.
And he says his catchphrase, and it was, "Hit it."
Hit it.
How boring is that?
I liked it.
I want to complain. I was just, hit it.
I think they're kind of going
Engage. I want to engage or something.
No, well, that's
You can't have
Picard.
that? He
You
can't
can't
have
have
that?
engage. No,
Make
I like
it
hit it.
so.
No, that's
No.
Picard as well. I like hit it.
Picard had
You
some
guys didn't like hit it?
I don't know.
I wrote hit it all over our blog post for this episode.
Yeah, I already printed us shirts, guys. Are we not on board with hit it?
You got a tattoo?
I like Hit It, Mike. No, I thought it was fine. I mean, I didn't even really. I barely noticed it.
What I liked about him is that he seemed uber confident, but also uber casual.
Yes,
That's what I liked about him, and I think hit it just underscores that so well.
he is the anti-Lorca for sure.
It was a good contrast.
Yeah.
To have him come in and like once he kind of recognized and started respecting everyone on the crew to defer to their expertise in certain areas where he knew. Like at the end, he was talking to Burnham, and I'm like, she's like, "I want to go on that ship." And he's like, "Well, then I think you should go." And I was like, "Yeah." Also, she just saved your life, so you should probably let her
Right.
do whatever she wants.
Twice,
anyway.
actually.
Yeah, she keeps saving your life. So
She saves everybody's life.
yeah.
I really liked the new take on the original series uniforms. I
Yes.
thought those look really cool.
I love the kind of tongue-in-cheek conversation about, oh yeah, colorful.
Very colorful, right? Yeah. Whatever.
I kind of wish everybody would wear those.
No, I'm
I like the old school vibe.
very 70s.
Right.
Very 70s.
I like the old school vibe contrasted by, the sleekness of Discovery. I thought
Yeah.
it looked neat.
The last thing we need.
It was neat, guys.
Is like the Uhura skirt coming in and
Fuck yeah.
having to deal with that. No.
Or the male skirts from TNG season 1. Remember that?
the cat suits from
was-
TNG.
That was interesting.
See, Grant, there's a whole undercurrent in the Next Generation with Deanna Troy's uniform that seemed to change every season and never got right.
Okay, what was up with their metalloids or whatever spacesuits that they all put on? The red, the silver, the gold, and the blue.
That was what was up with that is that was just some silliness.
Yes.
That's it.
It looked ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh boy, is this the thing we're gonna be seeing all the time?
Well, we saw the same exact thing in one of the Kelvin Universe movies, right? When they did a space jump, Kirk was like in a yellow one and Sulu was like in a
Yep.
blue one or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing that struck me was, wow, we've got all this technology, we can do all this stuff, and yet your helmets don't work. So figure that out.
Oh, right. And wasn't that like kind of this maybe like allusion to the fact that later his head is the one thing that is protected? 'Cause I don't know much about Pike, but I thought like his head is in a jar later, right? Isn't that the thing about him?
Yeah,
His
that's
head's
probably
preserved.
that's probably what that was.
And like
Yeah.
now his head isn't protected, but later that's all that is.
Yeah. I do like that we are getting to explore Pike. Like if they're going to pick an original series character to flesh out more, we don't see a lot of Pike in the original series at all. Even in the J.J. Abrams movies, I know he's an important character, and Bruce Greenwood did a great job, but we don't get to see him in command or anything like that. He's just kind of a diplomat. We see him in command a little bit at the beginning.
It's very brief.
It's very brief. So if they wanted to kind of bridge the gap between original series and Discovery, that was a good way to do it. Usher this guy in here. The jury's still out on Spock because we haven't seen him.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting to me when I compare season 1 to what we've seen of season 2. So thinking about this episode and some of the previews, season 1 said we will stand on our own as a completely unique Star Trek. Season 2 feels like, all right, we're going to fall in line with the Star Trek pattern, and we're going to bring in some characters that you know, Pike, and we're going to bring in Spock at some point. Even if who knows how long it is before we see him, we're talking about him all the time.
Do you think it's like just unnecessary fan service?
I don't. I mean, I'll say I don't know that it's fan service. I think that if I put my my business glasses on, I think CBS is trying to grow this thing, and they kind of think, wow, if we bring in some characters that people actually care about and they know about, have some history with, we're going to draw more people to this thing.
Hey, Clyde, spoiler alert. It's working. They are growing this like crazy.
Oh,
they
yeah.
got 2 other spin-off shows and a cartoon series coming. Like they know what they're doing, and I feel like dropping in these characters was probably a really good call. I mean, as much as like we can be like, I don't know about that. I know that Spock is going to show up at some point. I'm excited for that. That's one thing I'm definitely looking forward to. They introduced this other mystery of these 7 glowing stars, as well as this red Shiva looking multi-armed
The red
lady,
angel.
the red angel thing. I'm like, okay, what's that all about? I'm on board for all of that.
I'm on board for it too. If it is fan service, I don't care as long as it's done well. Reading what Alex Kurtzman has been saying, the showrunner, I don't know what to think about this. He's saying we knew in season 1 the big question was how come Spock never talks about Michael Burnham, and we heard that, guys. We hear you, fans. So now we feel compelled to answer that.
Answered. Can we move on?
I don't know. That's
I saw a great meme.
A great
that
reason.
Answered it already.
Yeah.
It was the one with Spock. Like, why does Spock never talk about his sister? And it shows every girl that Kirk hooks up with. And Spock's like, I'm not telling you I have a sister. You're just going to try and hook up with her.
Okay, I would have liked that story a little
Right?
better.
Isn't that just kind of
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's not going to say anything around Kirk. No way.
But I don't know. Is that a good motivation to base the emotional core of your season of television around? Oh, the fans were saying this. We got to deal with it.
I mean, you know what's going to happen is Burnham's going to die by the end of this series, right?
Sure.
Burnham will die, and that'll be a reason he never talks about her.
Maybe,
It's
yeah.
it's a sore spot for him.
I don't know if it's the reason why you have to do it, but I think if you're looking at your hardcore Trekkies, you've got to address this issue, right? Like you've got to address this elephant in the room is how do you keep this consistent with the canon? You are introducing a character who no one in 4 or 5 series and a litany of movies have never even discussed. We've seen his father, heard about his mother. We know him in depth, in detail, but we've never heard about her. And I think they're just saying, this is how we tie this series to everything else.
I'm wondering what's going to happen, I guess, mid-season or maybe 5 or 6 episodes in, because they've fired the showrunners who wrote this episode. And Alex Kurtzman took over everything. He directed this episode.
Oh, do you think, like, were they ultimately happy with the episode, or does he think this might not, like, fully fit in, but, like, it's already written?
I don't know. I'm hoping, like we've been talking about, my issue was kind of being emotionally invested here. I'm hoping that gets addressed with maybe the showrunner change.
Yeah. There's something else I want to bring up.
Do it.
And the ship Hiawatha,
Yes.
the USS Hiawatha, I would first off like to point out that
Slightly
when
racist.
Saru uses
A
his
little bit, yeah.
he uses his eyes
Oh, yeah.
to like do a super look at it.
I like that.
That's kind of cool, although it made me think of CSI, where I'm like, you can't just bullshit image resolution more. What's going on there?
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah, it
if
was
you have the
cool.
screen, just hit zoom on it.
Well,
What's going on here?
so I had 2 other thoughts because I was thinking the same thing, Grant. One, Saru does have that eye, but we're looking at Kayla and this this new eye. I'm sure she's got much higher resolution than Saru.
She doesn't get speaking lines, man.
And
they'd have to pay her more.
and two, the dude in the transporter room with the Geordie LaForge like visor. I was like, oh, so the Geordie visor tech is not new.
I didn't notice that.
He too probably could see through walls, so you might want to call him up to the bridge and
He
say,
too
hey.
can zoom and enhance.
But the call number was NCC 815 flight 815 Lost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
Lost
okay.
thing. I got excited because you know these guys love Lost.
Yeah.
Some of them come from Lost.
Is
and
this
I was like,
is Star Trek a sequel to Lost?
No.
same universe? They're gonna turn a donkey wheel.
They're gonna find the Red Angel on an abandoned Dharma.
Benjamin Linus.
It's gonna be
Dharma
Benjamin
station.
Linus.
It's gonna be. It's been an abandoned Dharma station.
Yeah.
No,
Just
no.
like the red balloon. Instead, it's a red angel.
No. The Red Angel is actually going to be Desmond. It's going to come out and go, I'm here to kill you, brother.
But Hiawatha, I went ahead and looked up the who Hiawatha was, and it was this chief that was brokering peace, and I was kind of curious if that was supposed to in any way, if it was chosen because in some way Tig. We should figure out what Tig Notaro's character's name is, but if she might be some sort of peace broker as well or something. There might be some sort of significance there.
I think because it was a medical ship, right?
Yeah, it was a medical ship.
Also, when they said it was a medical ship, I was expecting it to be this like tiny little transport ship until I see this scene where they're rappelling down the side of it. I'm like, that's a gigantic ship.
Hospitals are big, man.
Well, the thing that got me was I was like, oh, so she saved a couple people. But they had like 2 full loads of people. I was like, dang, there was a lot of people on
Yeah, when they were beaming them to Discovery, like we got the first wave. How many people did she say? How many people did she hook up to computers here?
Yeah.
So when they land on that asteroid and they find out that this is like super mycelium rock or whatever's going on with this stuff, and Burnham tries to snag a chunk, she doesn't manage to have it transport. But when she's already healing in sickbay, she's like looking it up on the tablet and like trying to like figure out and coordinate like how they can get some more. I really appreciated that this new Star Trek Discovery crew, they all trust each other. They're all looking out for each other and just like they work as this cohesive unit. So she figures this out. She passes it on to Tilly, and Tilly's already working with everyone on the bridge, and they're all signing off on this. Like, fuck yeah, bring a gigantic dark matter asteroid, whatever, onto the ship. Yeah, we can transport that with this crazy, awesome, unfolding machine that we have. And I was like they all are on board for these kind of crazy ideas, and they all are doing it in this kind of noble pursuit of learning and science. I'm like, that sounds like the Star Trek ideal, right?
That is Star Trek.
Yeah,
yes.
what's going on here, I think, is a good blending of some of the tonal darkness that we saw in season 1, but it's really softened by the optimism of the Star Trek we know, and the whole core of Star Trek, the pursuit of science and knowledge.
Well, I think that, part of the darkness in season 1 was that we were dealing with Mirrorverse Lorca, right? And so when we got a chance to go to the Mirrorverse, it was very much self-serving, doggy dog, Captain Killy, everybody out for themselves. And I think that was it was fun to watch, but also a little bit difficult, because the things that we love about Star Trek is that they're a society where all these things that we struggle with, the greed, the politics, the maneuvering, they're kind of past that. And so I think we're now seeing glimpses of what Starfleet actually is. And I'm hoping that we'll see more of that, even if the showrunners change.
I hope so, too.
Guys, okay, there's just a few more things that I just want to like quickly address here.
Are these Star Trek related, or are you going to talk about Star Wars again?
He's going to talk about Lost again.
I'm going to try and work it into Lost, always. The first one I want to talk about is Saru's strut. As he's walking down the hallway, you see how his arms move?
That was new.
Man,
right?
I
Was
don't
that new?
remember seeing that before, but
I didn't like it.
oh man, I loved it. I was
It
like,
was distracting.
so creepy looking. I'm like, you are an alien, Doug Jones.
I went back and watched a few of the episodes from season 1, and I felt like he did do this arm thing, but
Yeah.
the strut this time was like it was different.
It was exaggerated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, also, I just wanted to bring up Linus, that dude, the sneezy alien.
oh yeah.
Where's the etiquette? Like, any alien should know, like, if you sneeze on someone, at least say sorry.
Did they? Did they borrow him from the Orville?
Right? It feels like
Right.
a cartoon character.
Yeah, he's from the Orville.
Is it really, though?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I mean, he
was
just seems like
gonna be,
he seems like an Orville character.
Also, I wanted to say that Tilly noticing in the nail beds, and that's what she compliments on Pike, was pretty hilarious. You have lovely nail beds.
Oh yeah.
His nails. There's this Caecilian death note thing that Stamets talks about. He's talking about the Caecilian opera
yeah.
that Culber kept wanting him to go to, and he never really seemed to get it. But I felt like them making a big point of him talking about the Caecilian death note, and that these people train for so long to hit this certain perfect note, and once they do, they just kill themselves. I thought that
You need a profession.
they're putting that in there for a very specific reason. That's going to it's a sort of like a Chekhov's gun that's going to play off later.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's going to relate directly to Stamets in a way that like Stamets has been engaged with the spore drive, and maybe he is going to work until he performs one last like magnificent act, and that will be his death note before he can just kind of go off.
We've kind of told that story already, though, haven't we?
Hey, look.
But he's still alive.
I don't know what Anthony Rapp has got going on. I don't know if he's got like a movie coming up or he's been offered another role. But let me tell you something. If we get to season 3 and he's not on it, I'm marching into CBS's office and, well, no, because they're not going to let me in.
I'm wagging a finger, sir.
Yes.
He literally is wagging a finger.
I am going to write a very sternly written email to someone who'll never read it. I am.
I think
I'll
Rapp.
take a screenshot of it, or I'll put it on my Facebook.
I think Rapp will stick around, right, Rapp?
He's got to. I mean, look, when we first met Stamets, I was like, this guy's a lot. But since then, I mean, he is, you're right, Grant, Tilly is the heart of the ship. But Stamets is a bit of its soul, too. Right, like he is as much a part of the crew as anyone else, and especially from a leadership standpoint. Look, I'm not following Saru anywhere. There's not you don't have a whole lot of like strong leaders. He is one, and so I think you got to keep him around.
Another thing I wanted to point out was that we see Burnham once again picking up the Alice in the Wonderland book and kind of going through it, and we saw her do this a little bit in the first season. And it seemed like that was very much foreshadowing Alice and the Looking Glass, and the Looking Glass being a mirror, being the mirror verse. Like, you kind of see like they're hinting at that previously. But in this one, we see that she's now talking to the Cheshire Cat. And I don't actually recall the exact conversation, but I was just kind of thinking that they might be setting something up there as well. And
I'm calling it now. Pike is the Cheshire Cat. I don't know what it means, but I'm calling it. I'm just calling it now.
That's with no substance to back it up.
I'm just saying.
The man raised his hand and everything.
I mean, look.
Then he wagged his finger.
Hey, last season, I kept saying, I don't trust Ash. We had a whole conversation about Ash being Vok. This year, I'm saying, Pike, Cheshire Cat. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means.
I think she was just.
Grow some good whiskers. That's about it.
Yeah, he could grow some good.
He
Lovely
gives
smile.
He's gonna give direction to Burnham on the path she should travel.
Okay. You got more, Grant?
I think that's about it.
Grant's fun list.
The one other thing I might point out is that I thought the directing in this episode was pretty well done. There's some like really notable scenes, like we talked about the space shot of flying around, but there's a bunch of great space scenes that we like really got to kind of jump in with. And there's this one little shot, but I really liked it. It was the cut scene between Burnham talking to Sarek in her room, and he leaves the door, and the door closes, and then it opens right back up with her walking into the bridge. And I was like, that's a great transition. I loved that. It had such energy to it.
There was also a great transition scene where she's standing in front of a door on Discovery. Then it cuts, and she's in the same position in front of a similar door on the Enterprise. But the color scheme is different. Yeah, there's some really nice. I mean, visually,
oh man,
this is
amazing.
the best. This is like the best show on TV right now in terms of the visuals.
And I love that scene with Burnham and Sarek where he says to her, "I can hear the missing note." I was like, "Oh, that's good.
Right.
That's really good. I like that."
And Tilly saying, wait, what did she say? I have it here.
I don't know. I just kind of wish he would have said, "Oh, you're not telling me something."
Well,
that seems very writerly to me. But
I hear what you're saying, Mike. But I'm looking at that and I'm going, wow. When I go home, if I say to my wife, "Hey, what are you not telling me?" That's not going to be nearly as cool and smooth as, "Sweetheart, I can hear the missing note."
And she's going to be like, "I'm not playing a song. What do you?
I don't
what?"
know, but I'm going with it.
It's not direct, is what I'm saying.
I'll let you know how it turns out.
Indirect.
This is just a good episode.
Okay.
I was really on board.
Yeah.
I will stop with my little notes about stuff.
Fun from beginning
It's going to be a
end.
new segment, Grant's iPhone notes.
No, I thought it was fun from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It was good.
It sets a good precedent for what's going to come up. I thought it was overlong, it was overstuffed, but man, I was still really excited.
Our episode's going to be overstuffed this week,
This
so
is very true.
we're following suit.
Very true. Thank you for listening to our instant breakdown of Season 2, Episode 1, Brother of Star Trek Discovery. My name is Mike. With me was Grant and Clyde. Visit us at StarTrekPod.com. Guys, you want to say anything else to our listeners?
I got about 12 more things I'm going to bring in. No, that's about it. I'm looking forward to this season.
I'm looking forward to the season, and I'm looking forward to sharing this season with all of you, especially on the Slack channel. It should be fun.
Yeah, and we did pick up a few new Slack patrons. If you donate $2 an episode at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod, you'll help us fund the podcast, and you can join us on our private Slack channel to talk about every episode of Star Trek Discovery this season. Do it. It's fun. Make it so.
Star
Hit
Trek
it.
out.
Hit it.
Hit it.
No. Live long and prosper.